right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is Monday, March 11th. Let's get it. Let's take a look at our higher time frame. Let's do our 4-hour sweep. Take a look at where we are, where we've been, where we're going, what's above us, what's below us, what should we expect this week. Let's just get right into it. Buttcorn, good game. Good game. Bitcoin on the high, 71,000, pushing on 72 here. Looks like we just got there. Yeah, so 72,000 Bitcoin. How about that? Good game. Nothing to say. Nothing to say. It's just up on a higher high again. It's the same thing every time. I feel like every time, every single time we do this analysis, it's like, well, it's up on a higher high. It's not really much to say. And then it pulls back and then it goes and breaks the high. And then it pulls back and goes and breaks the high. So, I mean, you know, good game. Hopefully the bull run is going to continue. We are in uncharted territory up here. There's no reference to the left. We're just, whenever people stop buying it is when it's going to stop going up. Isn't that crazy? There's no magic line. There's no magic number. It's just whenever people stop buying it, it's a spot instrument. Whenever people stop buying it is when it's going to stop going up. Whenever money stops coming in. It's crazy how it works when you really think about it. There's no logarithmic line that matters. There's no trend line that matters. It's not how it works. That's actually not how markets work. It's crazy when you actually progress enough to understand what's going on here. When people stop buying it, it stops going up, and pretty simple. So right now people are still buying it. Good game. People are also still buying Nvidia. Good game. We got the markets at an all-time high, and we're going to get to that. Like the S&P all-time high on Friday. They're still up. They went and retested the high last week. So good game there. Good game Bitcoin. I haven't really looked much at altcoins. Probably not much to say there, assuming they're following the path. Where's Ethereum at? 4,000 Ethereum. How about that? Jeez. Good game. Good game. This was probably the much better trade here. Yeah. 160% from the consolidation. What did Bitcoin do? Probably not far from that. Yeah, 180%. Actually, Bitcoin outperformed Ethereum. How about that? From that 26,000 consolidation. Wow, Bitcoin has significantly outperformed Ethereum. That's a surprise. I didn't expect that. All right. It's a good game. As this comes up and starts to consolidate up here, all the alts should lift. Money should slosh back over into alts. So alt season is coming. I haven't really done much looking at, I don't know, all the stuff against Bitcoin or against the dollar, but just curious to see what types of percentages alts are up from the consolidation. Yeah, I mean, about the same as Bitcoin. Crazy. Bitcoin has been the king. That old Doge. Trading View and their shenanigans. It's kind of funny though. Yeah. Doge outperformed a little bit. It was up 250%. Yeah. So, this makes sense. When Bitcoin runs up and consolidates, alts tend to follow. That money sloshes out of Bitcoin back into alts, and it's like a seesaw back and forth, teeter-totter. It's a good game. I don't need to spend too much time on it. Good game, Bitcoin. It's good to see. Obviously, we want it to go up. We want it to go up. A lot of people in crypto here. We want everybody to make money. Don't forget to secure the bag on the way up. Or protect your trade at least, trail up on the way up. Just protect it. Don't worry about getting taken out in profit. You can always get back in on a pullback. You might get back in at a better entry too. You're not really losing that much by taking profit and then getting back in. If you think about it mathematically, it's not that much different. Just protect it. Don't let it run away and take all your profit back. That's the biggest mistake that everybody makes. is it goes up like this and everybody starts buying into it. You know, you buy it here and it goes up some more. Then it's like, oh my God, it's going to the moon. Everybody gets on CNBC saying it's going to $1 million, and it goes up a little bit more and you buy it again and it comes up here and then it does this. And now all three of your positions are underwater and you didn't take profit. How many times has that happened? Just all I'm saying is just monitor it actively. It's time to pay attention. Good game. Good game. Let's go. Do the best you can to not buy peak highs after it's already run up. Mr. Slithery the Snake, where's he going? Just, you know, if you're going to do it on red candles. Looks great. Good game, Bitcoin. Let's go. We want it to go up. We got the halving coming too. We're getting closer. We're marching closer to that halving. It's not that far away. And talking about like 2 months. So, man, we're going to see 100K. I hope it gets there, man. Good game. Good game, Bitcoin. Nothing to say right now, but checking it out. Next. All right, dollar. The important stuff for day trading. You know, dollar slapped down. We got the really good entry down here. There's another potential entry lower if it wants to do it. This was really good the other day. We caught it. Makes a lot of sense, actually. This next level down makes a lot of sense if it would go. I wish it would have flushed out, but, you know, we caught it the first time. We've been all over this. This took an L last week, though, man. Actually I was in Aussie dollar. I had to take it twice just to get back out of it. You know, it didn't bounce over here the first time. There was just no bounce at all. It just ran straight through it. It didn't even bounce a little bit for a day trade, which is what we were hoping for. We were hoping that the dollar was going to do something here. Something. You know, after all of this pull down, to just do something, one little day trade like that, just a little tiny 1 or 2 candles, and it didn't. It just pushed straight through. So that became an issue. Not bad, but actually one of the misses for last week. Still crushed it, man. God, we killed it last week. Again, just consistently murdering this market. I mean, there's not many traders out there who are trading at this level. I mean, we're just killing it, period. Anybody who's here has zero arguments with that. All the way down, next level, next consolidation down. We know what we're looking for here. We're ready to roll. Already bounced. Good game. Probably going to be in a consolidation. We talk about not trading from a neutral point. We got a supply level here, demand level here. We're right smack in the middle. It's very neutral. We try not to position from a neutral point. Give ourselves an advantage if possible. The dollar's not really in a great spot right now, but that doesn't mean it won't be later. It's either going to do one of two things. It's going to pop back up here, or it's going to come back down to here and that. So which is it going to be? Nothing really to say right now on the dollar. Very slow today. There's no news. There's not really much popping right now, but we're going to do our Monday analysis. The yen index. Moving on to the yen. Boy, did we kill that. Nailed it. We had one or two potential entries for 2 different reasons. The first one went, crushed it all the way to target. Now neutral. Now we're not, kind of no trade right now. Waiting to see, because this is still very, 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 very low on the macro. This is just getting started. This is going to pull back, hopefully stabilize. What we'd like to see is some kind of a, you know, pullback and stabilization, but not die, not break the low. We want to see that transition where we go from lower lows to higher lows. And this, if we do get this pullback, if this pulls back down this week, we're going to get another shot at this, and it's going to be glorious. Glorious. It's going to be great. But right now, you know, we don't want to stand in front of a moving train necessarily either. Like, I'm not saying it's a short. We got a little bit of supply here. It's weaker, but there. It still exists. We're really looking to break this swing high, but not necessarily saying it's a short right this second on the yen. However, probability, right? It's about probability. We broke our high. What's the likelihood that, and we're waiting to see, maybe we get a red candle here and then it pulls back and just kind of distributes up here and maybe pulls back a little bit and then tries it again later, right? Maybe we get something like that. We're going to have to watch this, but you definitely don't want to buy it right now. I guess there's such a thing as buy high, sell higher. It is a thing. It's risky, but we may not want to buy into a supply level this close to a high. We'll look at it on different time frames and see how much sense this actually makes. To be honest with you, right now, it just doesn't look like a short either. If I had to choose for a day trade, like if I had to take a trade right now and close it in 24 hours, I would probably pick short, because what if this does just come up here, but then does something like that? You know what I mean? Like, what's the it may come back and break this right here. What's the likelihood that it stalls here? We kind of wait to see on the next candle. How much time is left? 24 minutes on this. We got 24 minutes on a doji at the top on a 4-hour candle. What if that next candle is red and looks like that? You know what I'm saying? And then it maybe pulls back, starts this like distribution up here, kind of rejecting the supply level, and then pulls back a little bit, maybe back into this. What if that happened? What if it did? That's normal. That's completely normal stuff. So we, and again, I'm not necessarily saying it's a short from here. I'd rather be short than long for a day trade. But overall, we really want to be getting long on the yen. Nailed this, man. We've been waiting for this one. Man, this one has been a thorn in our side. We've been waiting for this. Got a confirmation move off the low this last week. Great. Awesome. Work our chart here for a second. Obviously that, let me get rid of this alert. That's not going to hit. It's unlikely that that's going to hit this week. So let me get rid of that. If it does come back into there, we'll take a look at that for a higher or for a lower low. But yeah, I'm not sure that that's going to, there's an inflection point right here. Kind of got a little weird gap right there with an inflection point. We can see where, the previous high became a low. We'll watch it when it gets there and see if this lines up with anything. I would say right now our effective trading range on the yen, something like this. And we're taking an extended look at this because there's an opportunity here. There's huge opportunity in the yen. Like mid to long-term opportunity in the yen. And if obviously, if you have a trending direction and we're just starting a fresh trend, we know there's certainty there because we know what direction we're going to be trading in, right? So, it's just going to be one of these things where we're going to catch this like so many times. Like we're going to catch it up and then we'll catch the pullback. Then we'll catch it up and we'll catch the pullback. And we'll catch it up and catch the pullback. It's just going to be raining pips around here because we got a very good idea of what's going on. We've been all over this market. We're on it. We're on fire. Absolutely on fire. So we're going to skip the yen for now. We'll wait and see if we do get a temporary rejection here. Original target hit on the yen. We want to watch this and be careful and see if it's going to break. There's a swing high up here. It's possible it runs all the way up. That's unlikely to happen within a week. Yeah. The likelihood that this puts in 2 weekly candles in a row, it would have to come all the way up, straight up, no chill, to fulfill the weekly candle and break the high. I don't think that's very likely to happen. I think it's much more likely to pull back and go into some kind of a consolidation. We're going to wait and see. Good game, yen. But on pullbacks, we want to pay very close attention on these pullbacks. We got a situation here on the yen that's starting to look good. So we'll come back to that. Good game yen. It did the thing. It made the move that we wanted. Moving on, euro yen. This is going to be part of the yen. We won't spend too much time on the yen stuff because we're really timing it with the yen index. We're going to have a little bit of supply here, some right here, some right here. Got layered supply on the way up. Inflection point right here. Yeah, Crazy because this looks like it wants to go lower, but what we don't want to do is short euro yen on a lower low after that big of a drop. We just rode this thing down. We don't want to start selling it now and then it pulls back up and goes into this consolidation up here like this, where your market cycle looks like a cycle on the, consolidation on the top and then another consolidation here. What if it's sellers on the top, buyers on the bottom, and we just haven't seen it yet? We're short from the bottom of the range. Probably not a great idea. Let's see what happens here. It's Monday. We just started the week after a big sell off on a lower low. Want to be cautious about this because there's a realistic case to be made here for this, that we could be potentially in some kind of a range like this coming off the top of the cycle that may eventually drop later. What if this does come back up here, does this kind of crap, and then comes back and breaks and then goes into a lower level consolidation like that? Like, that's just normal market cycle stuff coming off the top. You know what I mean? So we probably don't want to be short here just for risk management purposes. Not saying it's not going to continue, but we'll watch it. And obviously, because of the yen, if the yen made this move up like this as a currency index, if it starts to pull back like that, what if it does, right? If it does start to pull back, then what's going to happen to euro yen? This is going to run right back up into that range like we were just talking about. So anticipate an inflection point right here with a potential, kind of range. Anticipate a range low here on euro yen. There may be a day trade here, and we'll get into that on the group side. We're going to catch these pips this week. We're going to murder this. We're all over it. We have our finger tightly on the pulse of the market here. Aussie dollar. Let's take a look at the dollar index real quick. Yeah, the dollar's kind of garbage right now. Yeah, it looks like it's trying to be a little stronger, but at the same time, we've already come down off the high here. I had to catch this one a couple times. Had a position right. I think the first short was right here. Then I had another one up here. And when this came back down on Friday, kind of closed them out. No harm, no foul. But still continuing here. The second time was right. Second time was right on Aussie dollar. And that's okay. Down she goes. So if you were still in this from the other day, from Friday, you would probably have a stop to break even, let this ride. I mean, got a big potential short here if that dollar is going to go back up. Remember, the dollar just got roasted, just got torn down completely. And we don't know what's going on here. What if this does flip up like this? That Aussie dollar is going to keep going down. What I'd like to see is some kind of a situation like this that does that. So I can barely catch that low down there. Untested buyers on the dollar. We're going to position on all of that stuff. Aussie dollar is going to be one of those. Like in the case of Aussie dollar, that would be like a retest of the high, and then one of these like rollover situations. That would be great. We're going to figure out whatever it is and catch it right now. I mean, until this candle closes, it looks like it wants to go lower. It just doesn't seem to really want to be going anywhere the last couple candles. I would just be careful with it. What if the next candle like pulls back up and does this kind of crap and doesn't really do anything? It's not really a good entry short necessarily right this second. We'll take a look at it on lower time frames. Just going to run through it all and just see where we're at. Moving on, euro dollar. Nailed it. I mean, that was Friday entry. I remember this was from last Friday, the one before, and worked it all the way up into Monday. Magically went all the way 152 pips right to target and stopped. Go figure. The original trade complete. The original swing completed all the way back from here. So we nailed this 2 times within the spread, guys. Within the spread on euro dollar. Entry within the spread. We're talking about 0 pips drawdown. Target complete. 255 pips on the first entry. 152 pips on the second entry within the spread on both trades. That's all I'm going to say. Supply, just called the cycle, basically. Supply here, expected distribution. We'll watch the dollar. The dollar's in a weird spot. Expects probably not much really out of here. This will give us an answer later. This is either going to run down and break a low and expand, or run up and expand. We're in a very tight consolidation. We're going to wait for it to expand out, basically. Absolutely crushed that. Just murder, death, kill on euro dollar. And if you go back to the last analysis, if you go on the YouTube and you go back to the last analysis, I preached the gospel of euro dollar back here and said this was going to be one of those kingmaker trades. I just watched it this weekend. The last video I posted. Just preached it. I said, please do not miss this euro dollar trade before it happened. Banger. Euro pound. Moving on. This is interesting, actually. Structurally, this is interesting. If you look big, high. These are 4-hour candles, guys. This goes back, a couple years here, at least a year. Going back July of 23. I guess 6 months there on just the range low. 9 months almost. Just the range low. It's an interesting level there. What's the probability that there's some kind of a pull back up, right? Just one more iteration, to use a programming term, one more iteration in the loop of bouncing off the low. And then you go back and look at the price action. Look what just happened. Came down all the way down, broke every low there was to break, pulled up, big shift bar, shift off the low, pulling back, wicked back up into a hammer. Like it's wicked back up here, about to close in 13 minutes. This is a sign of stabilization here. And after stabilization comes a continuation of the trend change, the shift. We've had a shift in the trend all of a sudden, and it pulls back, starts to stabilize. It's just likely that we're going to get something like that. So the euro is likely to be stronger than the pound, and this is important. We don't necessarily trade this pair that much. We trade the setup and not the pair, though. We got the setup here, possibly here on euro pound. It's not bad. Another important piece of information here is that the euro is likely to be stronger than the pound. So if we're looking for longs, maybe the euro might want to shift our focus toward the euro. If we're looking for shorts, we may want to shift our focus toward the pound, because the pound is likely to be weaker than the euro, right? If this is going to go up, assuming this goes up, and this is a little more advanced correlation theory here, but this is how we really dial in the efficiency and get more out of trading, is understanding these things. This is what we go over a lot of stuff like this on the group side for the YouTube people. If the euro is likely to be stronger than the pound, if we're looking for a long against the Aussie, we probably want to pick euro Aussie and not pound Aussie. We're trying to get maximum efficiency here. If the pound is going to be weaker than the euro, we don't want to go long pound something. We would choose the euro over the pound, because the euro is it's much more likely to be the stronger component of the pair, the base component. The first, you have euro and the pound. If the euro is likely to be stronger than the pound, probably want to be watching euro longs and pound shorts for efficiency reasons. So this is interesting here because we got the setup. We got a possible lift up here. We'll watch this and see if this stabilizes down here and starts to pull back up to there. If that happens this week, I would say there's a pretty good chance that you get something like that. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Moving on, EuroCAD. We were just talking about, and this is the other thing is I know euro dollar was way up. Some of the other euro pairs are already on the high, so that's interesting. It makes you wonder if they're going to continue. EuroCAD to counter what I was just saying, probably don't want to buy this one. And it's going to depend on what it's traded against, basically. You probably don't want to go long necessarily right here. There's a case to be made that we're at the top of a range, buyers on the bottom, sellers on the top. We're also tapping into this buy side liquidity here. We talked about this one the other day. That's why this stopped up here. That's why these money bags are right here. That's why this stopped here the first time. We have our first test of the buy side liquidity here above this consolidation. There is a gap here, but it doesn't mean it's going to run it the first time. Obviously it didn't. So there is a possibility of higher prices here. Let me see where the weekly range is. Yeah, I mean, it's going to have to go big. You would expect it to pull back first. We're going to watch this because what we just identified, just the 5-minute conversation we just had, we just identified a potential stronger euro this week. And this is relative to the pound. We got to put the whole picture together. We got to put the whole puzzle together. We come in on Monday, we dump all the puzzle pieces out on the table, and we try to put the puzzle together of the market so we can see the big picture. And then we have a clear picture and like, oh, okay, we see what's going to happen this week. Relative to the pound, the euro is likely to be stronger. It's just likely. It's down on the low. It's starting to stabilize. We got a shift bar already. It's pulled back, rejected. Like, it's probably going to go up relative to the pound. So what about everything else? Euro relative to the CAD, maybe not the best time to buy this, back to where we just were. Probably not the best time to buy it. However, we probably want to keep an eye on the euro. The euro is trending stronger at the moment. Moving on. Not a good entry though. Euro Kiwi. Euro New Zealand. Well, there's two cases to be made here. There is an inflection point right here, and we're gonna have to watch this to see if what happens here. Is this gonna reject and continue to consolidate inside of this range, or is this gonna pull back up and be like a larger macro range coming off the low? We're not 100% sure yet because we're right dead neutral. We talk about this, not trading from a neutral point from your local swing low right here, your local swing high right here, local to the current price. We're right dead smack in the middle of it. We're really neutral. We don't want to trade from a neutral point because you have equal opportunity to get stopped out both ways. It's the way I like to describe it. So we're dead neutral at an inflection point. You can clearly see where the market has, kind of broken on either side here. There's been some kind of change right here. It's just what inflection point means. It's an area where something has changed and there's been a decision that's being made. There's a decision being made back and forth. It's a fork in the road where you got to choose up or down. Think about it that way. But right now, pretty neutral here. There's not much to say. Well, let's watch and see. We only got 7 minutes on this close. Not really much of a decision to make here. Skip it for now. Euro Aussie. Going to be very similar. The Aussie and the Kiwi tend to go the same direction. Same thing. You could make the same case. There's the inflection point here. You got a range here, got a range here. Technically, we're at the top of it. We did, however, bounce off the low. Murdered this the other day. If anybody remembers catching this trade, this was another one that was just so close, like within the spread. It's like a 3-pip drawdown and just a murder shot, just all the way up, and it's still running. In theory, we would be looking to retest the high of this range. What if, this is just a big consolidation like this, and we're just up, on our way back up? What if it is? We don't want to buy into it right this second. However, we have identified potential stronger euro coming in. Now, the problem is all these euro pairs they seem to be up on the high right now. They've already made the journey over the last 2 days or so. They've already made a journey up off the low, getting to a point where there may be some resistance up here as far as buying, not necessarily support and resistance, but the buying may slow down up here. It looks like it's tried to pull back once here and wicked back up, tried to pull back, wicked back up. You know what I mean? We'll watch it. You get very, very light supply right here. See where this goes. It's not really a good entry. It's not necessarily a short. We'll watch it maybe for a day trade, but while we're up here on this higher high, we probably just don't want to buy it. We're not going to expect moon from here without. It's already tried to pull back a couple times, so we'll watch it. It is Monday. Just taking a look to see where we are. What are we looking for on the way up? Adjust our charts a little bit on Monday. Make sure we still have a good understanding of what's going on. That was a lower time frame thing, and it was right. Buyers were correct. Could adjust this. That was lower time frame situation. We'll just call that there. Had it right. Nailed it. Still working its way up. We would expect for this to continue higher. We just had just looking for the day trade here. But yeah, maybe this is going to go more. We'll watch it on a pullback and see. We might end up getting back into this. Euro Aussie and Euro Kiwi both, potentially. Euro Kiwi already made the move. We caught the short here the other day, murdered this. I remember this trade. Got it right the first time. I had a second entry up here that never got filled. It almost hit it right there. It spiked up, almost hit the second entry, then it just didn't do it, and then it ran, gone. 220 pips on the short, and it's still working. So, not sure here. We're going to wait and see if this is going to retest the high. It depends on how strong the euro is going to be. We're going to come back to it. There may be a trade here later in the week, but we need it to pull back first. Pound dollar. Nailed it again. Got the supply level right. We're waiting for this to pull back up. At some point in the future, there's going to be a great trade right here on these untested buyers. It's just not going to be anytime this week. That's probably at least 2 weeks away. Yeah. The logical move here would be to expect some kind of a pullback. Definitely going to be watching right there. That's obvious. We'll set up our charts here. Call it something like that. And there's going to be other stuff on the way down. We're just trying to see what's within about a weekly range. That kind of makes sense. If we overextended our weekly range, let's say something in here like this. Makes sense. We'll adjust this a little bit on lower time frames. But say we extend our weekly range, we'll watch this first and see if it bounces. But say this does come down. If we get a bullish dollar and a weak pound, we've already kind of identified a potential weaker pound, right? With euro pound. This may be a short this week, guys. We're going to watch it on pullbacks, but there's, probably 100 pips in it. If we have a down week coming off of a higher high on pound dollar, got a higher high up here. This just made a parabolic run. If this comes up and distributes and just pulls back like this, there's 100 pips right there. Just back to there, back into this big dense consolidation. Makes sense. This isn't bad. We want to probably be leaning short on pound dollar. Be leaning short. However, the reality is when you get this big, huge spike up, you expect some kind of a distribution up here where it might stay for a little bit. We'll watch the dollar. Let's take a quick triple check on the dollar real quick. What's the dollar likely to do? Yeah, it's uncertain, but moving up right now. Assuming that the dollar does continue higher, pound dollar is just going to come down, guys. And using the correlations to our advantage, we've already identified that the euro is likely to be stronger than the pound, which means the pound could be the weakness in the pound, right? Could be the reason for that. The weakness in the pound could be the whole reason that euro pound goes up. So we need to triple check against other pound pairs to see if it's likely that across the board, other pound pairs are likely to be weak. And we might have a very easy trade here. Pound dollar. We're going to lean to the downside on pound dollar. I'm going to mark this. This is for a future trade here. At some point in the future. Right now, this week, we have our effective trading range here, big, kind of a gap-ish before we get into any kind of consolidation. We're just going to assume that we're going to go down. Maybe this comes to here. Whoops. Maybe this comes down to here today, bounces, pulls up like this, but makes a lower high or something, and then sells off. We get a dollar pump. This makes a lower high, sells off later in the week. Easy trade. Maybe definitely, if this thing would pop up to here, we're looking for this. We're looking for here to here. There's a trade coming here. Makes sense. We'll triple check that and make sure that we're going to watch for weakness in the pound as well. Pound CAD, great trade the other day. Another one like DJ Khaled. 160 pips to the high off it was like in the middle of the week. So yeah, that was Tuesday or Wednesday. Yeah. And it's kind of chilled on the low for a little bit, but it got him. On a higher high here. We'll see what happens with this. I don't know. This last candle kind of looks like it's kind of chilling a little bit. I hope this pulls back a little bit, but the reality is we're up on a big higher high. We don't really want to be long up here, to be honest. Big spike high up here. It's just up, pull back, higher high, pull back, higher high, pull back, higher high, pull back, higher high. How much of a pullback are we going to get? Is it going to pull back? If you look at the general structure of it, zoom out a little bit. I mean, we don't really want to be buying this right now. We're above every high there is to be above, basically. We don't want to buy this right now. Probably not a great idea. I'm not talking about a 1 minute chart. We're looking at this structure, right? This is our overview for the week. What are we expecting to happen this week moving through multiple days from now? What's likely to happen? Probably not a great long right now. We'll watch it. So there's a potential short later in the week, potential weakness in a pound pair. Pound yen. This is a different story because of the yen. We don't really want to be entering short here. This is stopped at an obvious place. Kind of an inflection point here too, really. I'm going to call this here at the waterline for now. And there's probably a trade coming here. This may be a little different because of the yen and we're not really looking to be long here, to be honest. If you look at this, this is just wild stuff here. Just again, how many times is this going to roll over off the top, put in the lower high and sell? We're paying very close attention to this stuff. Lower high, sold off. Actually, it's pulled back to right here. Technically, it was the retest, kind of equal high, lower high, sell off. We're really seriously running a risk here we're waiting for the yen, basically. We're waiting for the yen to really push like a multi-week trend, and this is going to get absolutely wrecked. We're looking at 1,000 pips here, guys. On pound yen. It's just, we're watching it. Selling the high of the day every day. And unless, not right now. We're not going to sell this right here at the bottom of the range. It's probably going to pull back up a little bit. Say this pulls back up here, and, what if that did happen? What if it just crunches through everything? We got to be cautious. Zoom out a little bit and look at this. You really want to buy that? With the yen at the all-time low, shifting off the low right now. Look at the yen index. Shifting off the all-time low. As low as this could possibly be on the all-time low, and it's shifted. Now we're going to wait for a pullback, but do we really want to step in front of a moving train here? Probably not. We'll come back to it. But however, that being said, it's not a short right now either. I could see a day trade pull back up here, to be honest, on pound yen. It's keeping it real. I could see upside before downside. Moving on. Pretty neutral here on pound Aussie. Right off the bat, local swing high, local swing low. Where are we? Right dead smack in the middle. Leave that one alone. It's not a good, there's no positional advantage here. Skip it. Skip it. However, we will set our charts up so we know what we're looking for here on the way up. Like if we happen to have a projected daily high, go figure, imagine that right there in supply, then we'll have some confluence there. If we broke that low, we'll have some confluence down here. So we're waiting for, this one's easy. We're waiting for one of two things to happen here. We're waiting for this low to break and tap untested buyers. 1 second, right there. Those have also not really been set yet. Yeah, we got layered stuff going on here. I could get an alert down there. We're really waiting for one of two things though. Slide this out a little bit. Get us through the week. Close. Whatever. I didn't just pull it all the way out. We're waiting for either this to hit or this to hit, to come back and break that low. Easy. One of those two things, we'll wait for that. We'll see it. It'll be super clear as long as we set our charts up ahead of time. There's really not much to do here in the middle. Moving on. Undo that. That was from last week. Moving on. Pound Kiwi. Whoops. Same situation. Waiting to be back on the high or untested buyers. Boy, we got this one right too. This one was with Euro Aussie as well. Euro Kiwi, Pound Aussie, Pound Kiwi. If you go back and look at these trades right here, murdered it all the way up. That was, the original trade was 430 pips to break the swing high. We just haven't made it up to supply yet, but this original trade did 516 pips in 12 days for the swing. Entry within 10 pips, maybe 20, 14 pips, 516 pip run. 1 to what? All the way up to target. 1 to 13. Murder, death, kill. And got back in it a second time right here. It's hard to see it. Got back in it a second time in the consolidation for the continuation. So add on another 350 pips to that, all the way to the original supply. Murdered it. But right now, it's been messy the last week. But good game. Good game on that. This actually held. I don't know why this wasn't marked, but this held. It dipped through and held. Interesting. So we're waiting for our untested buyers back here on our second entry. That was kind of the point. Not really much to do here. Let's see if this is going to make a lower high or what. We'll have to see what happens. Not really much at the moment. We'll set it up. We'll probably end up catching a day trade on this somewhere. Light supply here. I would say that's going to be our level on the way down. If we put in the daily low down here somewhere, see if we can catch a bounce. This may be a range contraction coming, guys. This may be like contracting in like this, where it comes down here and then does this, and this kind of goes into a consolidation. That's a possibility. That would kind of make sense. We'll watch this. Not really much to do there, but yeah. Murdered that one from last week. Just going back, reviewing everything. We weren't right about everything either. Sometimes it's wrong, but we get most of it right. Missed on Aussie dollar the other day for the first entry, and then waited for the second entry, and the second entry ran like Usain Bolt. Let's go. Untested buyers here on CAD Yen. Probably going to get a day trade here coming off of our untested buyers. Good short. This was the yen. All of this yen stuff. We had this right in such a big way last week. Like, we didn't realize it at the time. And I remember we had this conversation. You don't really realize it at the time how right you actually are sometimes. Coming off of a higher high, it's be like, well, just made another higher high, might as well sell it. And then what you don't see until later is how right that actually was. We're waiting on the yen to come off the low, and it finally did. Going back to the yen, the other component, this finally lifted off the low, right? So naturally, CAD yen is going to dump it. So now that we've broken all these lows back here, we're watching this very carefully for our untested buyers. Now that we've cracked through our structural inflection point right here, we broke through that, broke the low. We're looking to buy the low of the day here today for that move. Very easy decision. Let's see how far away we are. Yeah, go figure. Magically happens to be statistically the low of the day as well. So what we're going to be looking for here on CAD yen is whatever this is going to do, we're going to look for a low. We're going to look for a continuation lower and start scaling into it down here for the pullback up. It's the only logical thing that makes sense. Huge we're just already identifying opportunities here. I'm going to crush this week, man. Already. CAD yen's coming. Check is in the mail on CAD yen. It's just not in the mailbox yet, but it's on the way. Check is in the mail. Let's get an alert there. This will be like a day trade bounce, probably. We'll see how far it's going to go. It's just very likely that after that big parabolic run to the downside, the first test down here, it's very, very likely that this bounces. No guarantees in trading. Doesn't mean it has to. There's no law that requires it to bounce. It's just very, very, very likely. And very likely is profitable. Predictable. It's predictable that this would happen. We've already broken all of our structural lows back here. Predictable is profitable. Highly probable is highly profitable. That's my motto, basically. We look at probability here. What's more likely to happen than not? Highly probable is highly profitable over time. Pussy yen. This is kind of messing with it right now. I would call this like weaker demand. However, it is demand nonetheless. There are some buyers here that have held the market. We'll see what happens. We really want these untested buyers down here. This makes me wonder if the yen is going to push just a little bit more this week and then have a big pullback, like a midweek reversal kind of thing. I wonder, we're going to need to watch this. This is one of those things where you either try it right here, literally where it is. This is the low of the day. Might get a day trade here. This is already holding, and if this just pulls back up to there, even if it's just that little tiny move, that could be all you need today with high accuracy. That could be all you need to put pips in the bag, just back up to there, 70 pips, even to right here, 27 pips. That can be all you need. Just right back up to the open, or to run this is not a bad idea. Need to watch this actually. It's not a bad idea. And if it runs all the way and breaks the low, then obviously we're going to be watching it lower this week. I feel like there's going to be a trade here too. So we're going to watch the yen. Their trade. I'm going to mark this because there's going to be a trade here. Either a multi-day swing or like a day trade. After this move right here, it's either going to bounce a little bit here or it's going to push through and bounce right there with an even higher probability. So one of these two things is likely to happen. Back up into that. It's just got opportunities this week already figuring it out. So we're going to watch the yen. This is hinting that the yen may go a little bit more and then have a big pullback. It's either going to go like literally now, like over the next 4 to 8 hours, or it's going to continue down. The yen will continue stronger basically as an index for a day or two. And we know we got this swing high up here. So this is either going to stop now and do this, or it's going to push up a little bit, break that high, and then pull back even bigger. That's the most likely outcome. So we're gonna try to figure out what it is. We got to watch this on lower time frames, and we're going to watch Swiss yen because this is just easy stuff here. We already know where our levels are. This is easy to identify. CAD yen is the cleanest. We've already broken through this structural floor here, and we're knocking on the door of these untested buyers. We don't need to go too much into. We're just looking at just supply and demand strategy, and then we'll do the lower time frame pinpoint strategy stuff in the group. Dollar CAD. But we're looking at, just price action theory right now of what's likely to happen this week. And we're almost always right. I am confident in saying that we're almost always right. Anybody who's been paying attention knows that. I think it's fair to say that we're almost always right. Dollar CAD. Untested sellers up here. We will expect that to get hit at some point. What's the dollar doing again? Trying to pull back. We had this on Friday. In this May, in hindsight, we don't do hindsight trading here like some big people do. All they do is hindsight trading. But in hindsight, looking back at this later in the week, that might have been it. If this pulls up to here, it's like crap. We had it on Friday. We had the low on the dollar. But, it wasn't surprising. We knew that we were targeting this. We had been waiting for it. We waited for this all week. It did not hold this low here. This low consolidation did not hold. It pushed straight through. So if assuming the dollar does bounce up, back to where we were on dollar CAD. Back to dollar CAD. Good game here. We could adjust our water line there. Now that we've got another confirmation there. On the way down, this will expect for that to break. And then we'll be down to there. Just looking to see where we are. Adjusting the charts. There's a case to be made here. Very light supply. We call this weaker. Whoops. May not do that. Call this weaker supply right here, where we do have some sellers here. We have trapped longs in here is what it was. When this dropped down, people tried to buy the dip right here, and they were wrong. You can see what happened. Big drop. People tried to buy the dip and got trapped in here. So you've got trapped longs right in here. So as this comes back, these longs are going to get their money back. We talk about order book theory all the time. What's actually happening on the order books? We won't get too deep into that. We'll do that group side. But what's actually happening here? It's super important to understand this. It's critical. This will change your trading journey to understand, to visualize what's actually happening in the order books and what actually happened right here. Dropped in, got trapped longs. Everybody tried to buy the dip, and they held those positions. If they did, and as price comes back to that, they're going to want their money back. They're going to want to get that back to break even. Be like, whew, thank you for coming back to my break even on the longs right here. So naturally, this is going to start to slow down and square up orders on the back end. There's going to be some slowdown right here. So we don't necessarily want to go long right now. We'll wait for this. There's not really much to do on dollar CAD. I know a lot of people trade this. Just quickly, there's a case to be made here. Right? Local swing high, local swing low. We got a supply level, a demand level. Where are we? We're right dead smack in the middle here. We're at a neutral point. It's not the best place to make a decision from a neutral point. It's the same stuff, guys, over and over and over. Just got to see it, identify it, make an actionable decision. Manage your risk. The risk management's the hard part, guys. Honestly, figuring out what's going to happen is actually much easier than you think. It's just an experience thing. The risk management is something that is just, it's fluid. It constantly changes depending on what else is happening, what else is going on in your account, what else is going on in the market. There's a lot of factors for the risk management part, but figuring out what price action is doing is very achievable. Like we can know within a very high certainty what's going to happen here. And that's what we do every day in the group. We figure this stuff out, learn how to figure it out. The market is a puzzle with 100 pieces, and every morning you come out and you dump the puzzle pieces out on the table, and you have to put the puzzle together as fast as possible so you can see the big picture. And once you can see the picture, we already know exactly what's going to happen with a very high certainty. And then it's just a risk management game. Plans and contingency plans. If this, then that. S&P. Yeah, mid buns. That's right. Yep. Yep. Try to stay out of the meat. You only enter in the buns. Giggity. That's right. The price action sandwich. Price action hamburger. Only enter in the buns. Lol. S&P 500. Close to the low. This actually put in a new high. I think it was on Friday. Crazy, man. Thursday. Ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. Getting back to this. Man. What a run. What a run on the equities market. I bet if we've just got some star players here in the stock market that's kind of holding the sentiment up. There's a lot to be said about market sentiment. It's like music. I would describe it as musical chairs. Everybody's happy and partying and music's playing and everybody's dancing around the chairs, spilling their drinks all over the place, loving life, having a great time, partying it up. And then all of a sudden the music stops and you got to race for a chair, and it becomes a race to the bottom. And there's always somebody who doesn't get a chair. And that's the person who loses their money. That's musical chairs. So party right now, the music's still playing, the party's still going. You got stuff like Nvidia up on just nosebleed highs. There's nothing to say. It's completely ridiculous. Great company, but ridiculous valuation. Party is almost over. At some point the music's going to stop, and you can see it coming. It'll always slow down a little bit, and then it'll start to do this, and then all of a sudden everybody gets scared and it goes down into nothing, and then you get boom like that. There'll be something. There'll always be some news event. They'll blame it on something. Oh, the CEO of Nvidia is, curbing its outlook for 2024, and then but it really has nothing to do with that. It's because the party's over. It's because the party is over. People are stopped buying it. There are more sellers starting to come in to equalize the amount of buyers that are coming in. This is how markets work. And they'll always make up some excuse. There'll always be some news headline, and then the haircut comes. It's going to happen. Like we all know that it always does. There's a 100% probability that this is going to happen. We just don't know when. And that's what our job is, to try to make an accurate prediction on when that's going to happen. And we take risks on when that might happen. Like on a higher high here, we just had a higher high. I mean, that's what better time to try it than on a higher high. What if it was? What if it comes up here, does this, get some crazy news story and the market does this week? And for Thursday's high, on the higher high, when we were supposed to be selling the higher high, what if that was it and we just didn't realize it at the time? This is an important concept in trading. We talk about this all the time. This is one thing we focus heavily on, is what if that was it and you just didn't realize it at the time? So how do you prevent missing it? By taking the risk. You got to recognize when a potential major, apex is. Major pivot in the market, a major apex where markets go from trending up to trending down. Where is that apex point, that swing high? Where could it potentially be? What if this comes up to here, does this and doesn't make it, and puts in another lower high here, and you get a lower high like that, and then it goes down for the rest of the week. We close the week down and everybody's like, crap, should have sold it or should have stayed in it or whatever. And this is the thing. It depends on what you're doing. If you're day trading or swing trading or whatever, we tend to focus on the day trading, in and out within the day, try to catch the majority of the daily candle kind of thing, but also multi-day swings, because multi-day swings are very profitable. They're lower risk and they're easy to see coming. So we do a lot of that. There's a lot of merit in holding your trades for holding your trades for a little bit. Sometimes that's 2 days. Sometimes it's a week. Sometimes you run it from the weekly low of the previous week to the weekly high of this week, and you get a monster run, but this is the thing is, what if this was the swing high? Just, kind of off topic game theory stuff here. So we'll watch this. We're obviously back down at a level here where there's going to be some buyers coming in. We may get some temporary shorts closing and some kind of a bounce. We'll see. Or is it going to be bears in disbelief again? Are we going up again? What's going to happen? Who knows, man? Who knows? When is the party over? Is it going to be this week? Is it next week? Is it 3 weeks from now? How close are we? I mean, we're up on a higher high right now. We're on a big peak, like big run up, like big peak high. So, we're at the moment, as far as game theory here, we're probably looking to whatever this is going to do. But when this bounces, it's going to make an attempt to retest the high. Now you have two choices. It's either going to make a lower high or it's going to cut through and make a higher high, right? There's only two things that can happen from here. But I would say, again, we weight probability. We try to look at the market, assign a probability to it, and say, look, what's the most likely thing to happen here? What's most likely? Well, at some point, the most likely thing to happen, even if it does pull back a little bit, is it's probably going to try to at least retest the high, even if it's a smaller high or a lower high, like a swing low, or swing high, a lower high. It also may push bears in disbelief and break the high. But in either one of those cases, what's the most likely thing that's going to happen? Right? In either one of those cases, a small move up at minimum is the most likely thing that's going to happen. It just is. Doesn't mean that you want to bet the farm long on this up at the all-time high. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to YOLO this long at the all-time high, because at some point, this thing's going to get, what if it did get wrecked? But we want to at least explore the possibility of a bounce here. We're going to watch it on lower time frames. We'll see if that still makes sense. We'll look at the dollar. We'll look at the yen, because there are clear relationships with U.S. equities there between the dollar and the yen. We'll watch all three, the big three, moving on into the segue into the Dow Jones. Now look at where we are. This was weird price action last week. This one wasn't really as consistent as the S&P and the NASDAQ. So we got no retest on the high, no retest on the high. It didn't make it. It tried and just kind of went sideways. So we got untested buyers here. Well, not really untested. We'll probably move our water line here. We did get one test there. So, you see what we're looking at? We've got untested buyers right here. See how this works? So this is probably going to pull back down just a little bit more and then maybe bounce. And that's consistent with the S&P as well. We're going to have this. This is messy. It's obvious, but we just want to put it there. It's just so we know on lower time frames. When we're looking down at a 15-minute chart, we know that, okay, yeah, there's 4-hour supply there. And how does this line up with our statistical range? Are we at the top of the daily candle, or are we at the bottom of the daily candle, the weekly candle? Where are we? Are we in supply and demand? Is there something on a higher time frame that we need to be aware of, basically? Looking at the Dow, it's tightening up a little bit. It is tightening up a little bit. So something's going to have to give here. My guess, we'll look at it on lower time frames. My guess is that this is going to pull down a little bit more. I wish it would dip into this right here. Break that swing low, tap these untested buyers. That's where your money long is going to be. Is it going to run up to here, reject, and come down like that, and then bounce? Close the week, bears in disbelief. Or is it just going to run down first and then bounce? It's a little tight right now. It's consolidating. We're trying to set ourselves up to understand exactly where there's likely to be a reaction in the order books, and then we'll make sense of it on lower time frames. So it kind of looks like maybe a little bit lower and then a bounce. On the S&P, looks like a little bit lower and then possibly a bounce. Below that low. Kind of what it feels like. A little bit lower and then a bounce. The Dow maybe a little bit lower and then a bounce. The NASDAQ maybe a little bit lower and then a bounce. You're starting to see some consistency here. What if it did basically? Right now our current, say what our current level is going to be on the downside is here. I would say this is actually pretty strong. Like, this doesn't look that bad. I mean, you should probably be paying attention to this. It feels like it may dip a little low and then bounce. Like, it feels like we're going to retest the high, guys. With a possible flush first and then a retest of the high. Man. And again, we're coming off of a higher high here. Marginally higher high. You would expect that at some point this is probably going to at least attempt to retest it, even if it sells off and makes a lower low afterwards, and you get the swing high here where you have a higher high and then a lower high. That's a possibility. Also possibility that it runs up, leaves bears confused and broken and breaks the high again. Now in either one of those cases, that's probably going to be up. So we need to watch this, and there's actually maybe something that we can do here and just try to buy the low of the day. Not a bad risk. It's the counter trend trade. This is the contrarian viewpoint. Right now everybody's scared that it's selling off, but it already did. It already sold off, and we're back into, there's a case to be made here that maybe this holds. Maybe this density right here holds possibly. So, there's a case to be made here. Yeah, they're doing drugs. They're bringing crime. Yeah.
They're bringing drugs. And we're going to have a lot of fun tonight.
Gotta love it. Party time. Saw the chat. Yeah. So, all right. So what do we get out of the indices here? Got to have fun, right? You got to keep it light and have a good time. Probably, this kind of looks like it wants to dip a little bit and then bounce. The Dow, well, never mind. There goes the Dow. I guess it's party time here. Ring the bell. I didn't realize that. All right. So the bell's ringing. Ring the bell. So we're moving back up here. So maybe we're getting an answer. We're trying to figure, maybe we are getting an answer here. We do have buyers all over the place here on the Dow. Let's mark this out just in case it wants to come back, just so we understand where we are. All right. So ring the bell. God, it's time for that. Ring the bell, ladies and gentlemen. Today's not a holiday, is it? Girl's off work today. I was trying to figure out why. Yeah, gold's just flat. See, gold is flat. We're gonna take it. We're almost there. It's next. As far as figuring these indices out, I don't know. This is like getting super tempting here to try to catch some kind of temporary bounce. We'll watch this on the stock market indices. Big pop on the Dow. There must be a single component there that's having a good day. We'll take a look at it. This candle is really getting, you've gotten decreasing body size candles in demand here. We need to watch this. I have a feeling there's going to be a bullish candle coming off the low here. Wherever the low is of the day, we'll come back to this and we'll see if it makes it all the way back down to that. If it does, we've got, there's confluence there. We've got the low of the day, I think, and the 4 hour down there. Let's take a quick look. Yeah. So it's the hash and the 4-hour low. Might try to catch the bounce here. See if it bounces the first time. We'll watch this. It might be a long off the low of the day today on the stock market indices. We'll come back to that. We'll triple check that. Back to what we were doing. We're invalidating here on oil. That's invalid. It's about to be. Expect that we're going to go lower. How about that? So it did sell off the top. We had the long right. This is another one. This is another big trade that just kind of snuck out and just took off. Up 16% as of last week. 17%. So oil was up 17% from, the longs back here, and we got multiple times on it. We've been watching this one. A lot of levels here we're waiting for. If this does pull back down, we already know that we want to be long here. We already know what we're going to do on oil. There's no confusion here. We've been waiting for this for 2 weeks. We're just waiting for it to pull back down. So if for some reason we get a low of the week, magically, just magic happens to be the weekly projected low. Look at there. The projected low of the week this week, just magically, it's just conspiracy, I'm telling you. Just magically just happens to be right there in that untested demand. Now, how about that? So that makes that decision easy. To be honest, we probably want to lean short on oil this week. At the moment, it's on the way down. We'll expect it to take at least another leg to here and possibly cut through, because there is a gap right there. I don't know. We'll see. But, this has already been tested multiple times. Maybe it breaks. We are going to get something right there. We'll see how big the bounce is. Might want to lean short on oil this week. Sell the pullbacks. We'll come back to that. It's probably not the right entry right now. I would rather be short than long. It is breaking out of the range and there is room to run. Probably want to lean short on oil on pullbacks. Gold. Let's take a look at the dollar real quick. Odd to see a bullish candle on gold and the dollar at the same time. But these run counter to each other. I mean, this is no secret in the market that as the dollar gets weaker, people hedge their risk into gold. And as gold gets up on the high and becomes a little too rich to be buying, people sell gold and go back into the dollar. Money sloshes around between gold and the dollar. It's just a thing. It just is what it is. And other currency indices too, but especially gold and the dollar. There's a very special relationship between very is not a word, I guess. A very special relationship between gold and the dollar, US dollar. Right now, the dollar is kind of pulling back a little bit, but you see what happened last week. We had a big, huge, the house burnt down on the dollar, and look what happened to gold, right? New all-time high. At the moment, this was a good short, but when the dollar was on the low, and it depends on what the dollar is going to do. We're watching this. At the moment, there's really not much to say here. It's just kind of this crap. Sideways. Depends. I mean, it really depends on what's going to happen here. We're watching it. Is the dollar going to slowly get stronger temporarily, or is this whole thing going to slam back down? We're going to need to pay attention to this. It's kind of no trade on gold right now. I mean, to be completely honest, and I hate this, but when you get a big sharp move up like this and it goes flat, that makes me tend to want to believe that it's going to want to try to retest the high again before it comes back down. Now we got a little bit of adjustments we can do here. That was a lower time frame thing. This makes much more sense. Just where's the water line? Where are it's the whole big zone here, really. It's the whole big inflection point. That's a little bit wide though for day trading. Try to be more accurate than that. Let's see where. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be all the way down in the weekly. We'll just call it that for now. That's going to be our next level that we're going to need to pay close attention to on gold on the way down. As far as right now on the way up, it's just the high. Are we going to break the high or null? Break the high or null? So it's one of those things where maybe, I don't know, there's no reference to the left. So you can either, there's two choices you have really on gold. You can either try to sell the high of the day every day or no trade. It's that simple. I'll break it down like that. The thing that makes the most sense is if this goes up and makes a new high, you try to sell it at the high of the day. You try to catch the high of the day for the pullback, right? Or leave it alone. That simple. You know, do you want to buy the all-time high? You know, maybe for a 1 minute scalp or something, maybe to catch it up if that's your theory. Probably not a good idea to try to take like a swing trade here because it might hurt. Eventually this is going to come back down. Now, I'm not sure that's going to be today. Just to be honest, looking at this candle right here, and this is part of the thing. This candle completely changed things. And the market open, this completely changed the whole game. The whole structure changed on this candle. We'll see if this closes like this, but depends on how aggressive you want to be. Maybe it pulls back and goes and makes a new high up here. Barely, just barely. And then you get out and you wait to see what happens. But eventually it's going to come back the other way. The crazy thing is every time it does make a new high, if we get some new high up here, the smarter move is going to be to sell it. Because remember, we talk about this. You never know when the higher high is the high, right? We were just talking about this on something else. I think it was pound yen. You never know when the swing high is the actual swing high, when the higher high, right? Trying to sell the high of the day on a higher high. What if it's the high and it comes back for 2 weeks? You get 2 or 3 weeks in a row to the downside and you had a chance to sell the high, right? You never know if that's it. So that's something to be aware of. You know, if we do get a higher high, sometimes it's worth trying it. Give it a little bit of room to breathe, lower risk, and maybe it runs. Sometimes it's worth trying it. Right now, you know, if you really want to be aggressive, you're going to wait for this candle to close in 3 minutes. Any pullback you get, you're buying into it. You're buying red candles for the rest of the day until it breaks the swing high. Until it breaks that high right there, you're buying every red candle close until this, you know, breaks the high. And we don't have to go into too much of the strategy stuff. We'll do that in a second group side. But, you know, just taking a look at what should we do here today with gold. Just a little bit of, you know, we already pretty much know what's going to happen. We're just kind of waiting for the confirmation. Look at Bitcoin. Man, this is sketchy right here. Yeah, so what's the prognosis, Doc? What are we looking forward to in the future? What should we do? What are the Cliff's Notes, the main takeaways here? What's the synopsis of the market? The dollar is coming off the low but uncertain today. You know, there's whatever this is going to do, eventually it's probably going to end up a little bit higher to retest somewhere higher. Just don't know if it's going to, you know, is this going to be like a range high here first? Is this going to come back down into a range and then bounce later in the week? That stuff happens. So just be aware that, you know, it may not be the right entry right now, and we're neutral. You know, we're right in between supply and demand. We're right dead smack in the middle. No positional advantage, not the best time to mess with it. The dollar, we're going to watch closely, obviously, the yen. Good game on the yen here. What happens right here? Is this about to roll back over? Yeah, we'll see. We got to watch. And it is Monday. It's Monday. There's not a lot of news. We don't really expect to have like some big crazy like activity going on right now. There's nothing happening today. Euro group meetings. I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for that. You know what I'm saying? So there's just not much going on here, but that's fine. We got plenty of time this week. Speaking of which, let's take a quick spin through the news. What's going on? Core CPI tomorrow. So 8:30 news tomorrow. We'll be ready for that, obviously. Zipsilchinata on Wednesday. How about that? There's a bond auction, 30-year auction. That can be interesting just to see, you know, who's buying. It's really watching Japan. Or is Japan still buying our bonds or not? That's kind of where the majority of the volume comes from, I think is my understanding. Thursday, it's little stuff here. Core PPI. We had a lot of news last week. We were stacked up. We had Powell on twice, NFP. There's all kind of stuff going on. Not a lot this week, but that's okay. We got a lot of price action stuff that we can trade. There's just not a lot of volatility events, that's fine. That's totally fine. There doesn't have to be stacked up news. Actually, it can be better to not have a lot of news, because when there's a lot of news events and there's a bunch of stuff stacked up day after day that you're waiting for. Oh, well, we got to wait for Powell. We got to wait for NFP on Friday. And then people just don't make money, or they don't make decisions with their money. They sit on their hands and wait for the news to hit, and then kind of wait to see what happens. When there's just from experience, when there's not a lot of news, when there's not a lot of volatility events scheduled, that can be a good thing. That's when some of the best price action trading happens, because people are free to make decisions without really worrying about what's Powell going to say. Maybe I shouldn't take that trade on the dollar or shouldn't take that gold trade because we don't know what Powell's going to say. Maybe I'll just sit out this week on the NASDAQ, because what if Powell spooks the market? That is a real thing. It's a thing. So right now, not a lot. 8:30 CPI tomorrow, core CPI. This will be a thing. This is our big event right here tomorrow. The monthly and yearly print CPI that's one of the big three volatility events. You got NFP, FOMC, and the CPI print, the monthly yearly print on CPI. There tends to be volatility. So at least there's that tomorrow. That's our big event. This is probably not that big of a deal. Core retail sales, it'll be something. So we've got 2 8:30 events, Tuesday and Thursday, and then not much on Friday. So at least this will be a thing. We'll be ready for this obviously tomorrow. So tomorrow was it 8:30, our big event. Hold on a second. What did I just do? Just close something. Correct. Close my GUI trade? No. All right. Just minimized it. All right. So yeah, tomorrow at 8:30, this is going to be our big volatility event, core CPI. Expect volatility. We'll plan for it accordingly. It's going to be dollar, gold, stock market indices. Those are going to be the big three to focus on. Any dollar-based trade, anything with a dollar in it, gold and the stock market indices are going to be the most heavily affected. So, come on, volatility. So at the moment, what's the big takeaway? Waiting on the yen to pull back. The dollar's a little uncertain, but likely to end up higher this week. So, there may be some shorts coming on like Aussie dollar, Euro dollar, just for the pullbacks. It makes perfect sense for these things to pull back a little bit. Not a good entry right this second. The euro is likely to be stronger than the pound. This is a thing. There may be a trade here in some form, whether it's euro longs, pound shorts, or euro pound long with triple risk on it, because it's such a turd. It's so slow. It only moves 25 pips in a day. So you gotta raise your risk a little bit to offset the lack of volatility intraday. But we talk about that stuff all the time on the back end. If for some reason we take that trade, we'll go over that. Euro Kiwi. The contraction here, it's not great. Just contracting in. Just looking to see what our big opportunities are right now. The pound dollar is probably going to end up lower, and that would be consistent with the stronger dollar we've already identified. Wait for it to pull back a little bit if possible, but probably going to end up lower. There's a trade there. We'll see on pound CAD too. We need to watch price action here, see what happens, but this is on a higher high, and the pound kind of feels like it's going to be weaker. Pound yen's a different story. This looks like it's going to pull back up a little bit. There may be an upside day trade here on pound yen, and that would be consistent with the yen having a mild pullback here in distribution. So if this does pull back a little bit on the yen, you know what I'm saying? Like, Euro yen looks like it's going to bounce a little bit. Pound yen looks like it's going to bounce a little bit. I think we're going to get a temporary pullback here on the yen pairs. So that may be something that we can work for a day trade. Pound Aussie right in the middle, nothing to say until later. Pound Kiwi, same. We're waiting for this stuff to get to either a supply or demand level so we can make a more informed decision. CAD yen, same situation as the yen stuff. I wish this would just flush out and bounce like that. That's going to be very easy to understand. Got the alerts ready to go. Swiss yen, same situation. It just feels like it's going to be higher at some point, either from here or from down there. One of the two. Got them marked out, ready for that. As far as today, the yen is a candidate, for a pullback. A counter trend retracement on the yen is a good candidate for a day trade today. As far as the equities market, this just feels like it wants to go lower. This kind of price action like this, just when this stuff like drops like this and it starts to scoop out, it will spill a lot of times and do that. So I would only be interested in this if it came back a little bit, and we'll look at it, see is it going to hit the low of the day and also be in demand. Very strong level here. That makes sense. I like this down here if it'll get there. We'll explore this when it gets there on the S&P. I think we may be buying the low of the day today on this. The Dow's already kind of bounced. So same thing. I just would rather this go lower. If it did go lower, I would like the opportunity. Same thing here, on the NASDAQ. If for some reason this screws around for a couple hours and then flushes out lower and we get a chance to buy the low of the day, buying the low of the day back up to there is not a bad idea. From whatever down here, if it barely cracks that low, something, runs back into here. Runs back into here somewhere. Not a bad idea. And we'll see we'll assume that there's going to be a range here. That it's going to be something like this that hasn't fully developed. We'll try to catch it in the buy zone down here somewhere. And maybe we get a retest of the high this week. Even if it's a lower high, the likelihood that this retests higher, I would say, is pretty good. Again, we're still aware of the musical chairs game, and eventually the music's going to stop and it's going to be a race to the bottom. Somebody's not going to get a chair. Somebody's butt's going to be on the floor. It's just how this works. It's just how it works. Everyone can't win. Sorry. Markets aren't fair. Life is not fair. The quicker you accept and acknowledge that, the better off you're going to be. It's not fair. Everybody's out to take your money. That's what this is. This is a bunch of smart people all trying to take each other's money. Prove me wrong. What are markets? It's a bunch of intelligent, well-informed, well-funded people all trying to take each other's money. This is a battle. Are you going to be a shark or are you going to be a fish? Are you going to be a lion or are you going to be a gazelle? What's it going to be, a winner or a loser? Someone has to lose in order for you to win. This is a zero-sum game. Be a winner. Be smarter than everybody else. Be above average informed investor, and you will win the long game. It's literally how this works. So we're going to try to understand what we're looking for here in the market. We're going to wait for it. We're going to wait like the crocodile under the water as the deer comes up to drink at the pool. We're going to come up out of the water. We're going to grab him and pull him under. We're waiting. We're sitting here lurking and waiting we already know what we're waiting for. We already know the prey is on the way. We're going to be winners. Not really much to say here. We're kind of waiting to see what's going to happen here. It's Monday. There's not much popping. Ooh, yeah, there goes oil. Maybe we're going to start to move here. All right. So as far as the higher time frame stuff, I think that's, we're kind of waiting for some price action. Got a good idea what we're looking for. We don't need to make it go on too much longer. Dollar's stronger. We'll switch over here, lower time frames, and work the group stuff. Try to see if we can get some entries here. now that we're getting some movement, we can kind of see what's going on. Anyway, hope everybody has a good trading week. Crush it this week. We'll check in later in the week and see how we did. I don't know. Let's see what we get. Everybody have a good one.